This is Maker Galaxy.
We're always talking about the future of design, the future of technology, the future of making. In a world where 15-year-olds are filing patents for 3D printer technologies. A world where virtual reality can let users explore their real-time reality in a third-person view. How do we find the next big thing? Maker Galaxy is a show that explores the crossroads of design, technology, and the future of making. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Simon Martin, and this week we talked with Nancy Yen and Lucas Menanix of OmieLife. OmieLife is the brand that recently launched the OmieBox smart lunchbox on Kickstarter and is currently over halfway to their funding goal in less than 24 hours of launching. We'll talk with Nancy and Lucas more in depth about their product design backgrounds, how they approached the problem space of designing a better lunchbox, what they think is the right formula for a successful crowdfunding campaign, and more. Today's episode is brought to you by the Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Welcome, Lucas and Nancy. We'll get into OmieLife and the OmieBox in a little bit, but before we do, we want to know, you guys live in San Francisco, home to various wonderfully delicious food trucks. What do each of you guys think is the best food truck, and what should we get there? Starting with you, Nancy.
I love a place called Onigiri, and they sell Japanese rice balls, and I would highly recommend the salmon one and the cod road one.
Ooh, wow, that sounds great. And Lucas?
For me, it's got to be the bacon truck because it's bacon. My favorite there is they have these amazing pulled pork fries where they just take a bunch of amazing pulled pork and throw it on top of fries with cheese and peppers and stuff.
Wow.
Can't beat it.
That sounds like that I need to go to San Francisco tomorrow just for that. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Who are you guys, and can you tell us a little bit about your backgrounds and how you got started in developing products, starting with you again, Nancy?
Sure. My first foray into developing products was at Old Navy, and when I was there, my first job was a merchandiser for accessories. So I developed kids' shoes, Halloween costumes, hats, socks, pajamas, anything a kid would wear, you name it, I helped develop it. So if you see kids in monkey costumes from Old Navy, that's all yours truly.
Excellent. And you, Lucas?
So my first foray into developing products, I studied mechanical engineering at MIT, and that's kind of where I fell in love with product design, and I really enjoyed thinking about the user and who's the person who's actually using the products, and I kind of just focused my studies from there and did a couple of internships at some awesome product design consultancies in Texas, and then eventually after graduation ended up at One & Co here in San Francisco, working with HTC and developing high-end mobile technology with them.
Awesome. And so, Nancy, according to your bio on the OmieLife website, you have prior experience bringing new products to market, and you hold an MBA from the Stanford Business School. So, in your experience, do you think that there has been a formula for new products that have found success via crowdfunding?
Yeah, I think a big thing that we talk about here is just identifying a user pain point and coming up with an elegant solution for it. So as a team, we constantly ask ourselves, is what we're doing making a meaningful difference in people's lives? And that really helps us prioritize just things we're working on or key features and function sets. I think unless you're really delivering value, I think it's really hard to find success. And also, I think it's a lot about the communication of the brand. I mean, every little thing we try to touch, from our logo design to our brand imagery. I think it plays a huge role in how you present your brand to your customers. So I think it's a combination of these two things.
Definitely. And I would have to say that you guys have done a great job of setting up your own independent website, separate from Kickstarter, that communicates everything that Kickstarter would not give you the room to communicate. And what you've done with the Kickstarter site platform looks great, I must add. So, Lucas, your background in mechanical engineering coming from MIT led you to more design-centric companies such as Incase and One & Co, like you mentioned, before joining forces with Nancy. So how would you describe your approach to solving design problems, and what's your preferred software of choice?
So as far as my process and kind of the software I use goes, I really like to start out with just really rough hand sketches. I'm not the best sketcher. I'm not an industrial designer level of great sketch renderings, but as long as it kind of communicates the idea and then I can look back on that idea a couple of days later, that's good enough for the first round. And then depending on what it is, if it's like a very small design detail, maybe I'll go directly into CAD. And my software choice is Pro-E, or I guess it's called Creo Parametric now. I got trained on that as a young engineer doing surface modeling from my internships, and I kind of just latched onto that, and I really like the powerfulness of the surfacing, and it's just gotten better and better over time with the style tool and now with the freeform tool. I think there's just a lot of really great tools in Pro-E that allow you to do just gorgeous surfaces in a parametric model, which is for designers like us, it's so key because you'll always be needing to change your design as you go down the process. Add a millimeter here, add a millimeter there. Maybe this form's not working, scrap one part, build another part in. And for me, Creo really does that for me. But sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, so as far as process goes, sketches, and then if we're in the early stages and we just want to get a rough prototype, foam core, plywood, anything to really just get something in your hand and start playing with it, to just see that general size. With OmieBox, we made a ton of foam core models, and we just took them to parents and we said, how's this size feel? Like, does this work for you? We just started packing. We literally just packed food into those foam core boxes and see, okay, is this the right volume? Are you able to serve enough food into this volume? And then we just went from there and made refinement after refinement. So taking to that CAD, building 3D prints. I really like the object comics printers. I think they give really great resolution and up to the point where they're almost usable parts, like almost production quality parts. I think they're really great representation of what you'll eventually get from a injection molded part. And then, like I said, from there, just like iteration after iteration after iteration, we did. I think Nancy honestly was surprised by how many 3D prints that we needed to make before we could get to the final design. But it was totally worth it because at the end we got to a place where we could just kick off tooling and get right into tooling. And now we're seeing some first parts off of our tooling, and they look great. And that's all because we were able to do so many quick iterations in the beginning and really get those detailed 3D printed models ready before we actually went into tooling. So then we're not having to make all these tooling modifications afterwards. Awesome.
So you have almost more of an industrial design approach to mechanical engineering, would you say?
Yeah, I would say that actually. I've taken a lot of what I've learned from my design experience, and I've kind of put that into my mechanical engineering experience. Instead of spending a ton of time, maybe like some people would spend a lot of time really evaluating from a number standpoint or from an analytics standpoint, I really like to create prototypes and get my hands on something to actually put it either in front of the user or just put it in front of ourselves to really evaluate what the solution looks like in use.
Awesome. And so now that we know a little bit more about you guys, how did you guys end up clicking and creating a product design partnership along with your third member who's not on the show today, the industrial designer, Robin?
Well, one thing, my sister always tells me that when you really believe in something, then all the universe will conspire in helping you achieve it. And this really was true for our team. I spent at least a year trying to pull together the team. And one day, just by serendipity, a friend sat next to Robin at a conference and introduced us. And then another friend introduced Robin and I to Lucas. And as soon as we all met, we just hit it off right away. So it really felt like a serendipitous thing.
Awesome. So was it like you guys went to a bar and had a couple of beers and just everything clicked? Or, I mean, when was that kind of team building aha moment?
We bonded over food. I mean, that's one shared interest that we all have is in food and just, like healthy lifestyle. So we sort of met up. And with Robin, I think we met at a great place in the Ferry Building and just talked about design and our passions, and it just really, we hit it off. And then with Lucas, actually, we met at a park and just, he brought his lunch. We talked about how he brings lunch every day. And then Lucas just started doing some project work for us for a couple of months and then decided to join the team a few months later after that.
And so the three of you have just launched a Kickstarter campaign this past Monday for the OmieBox Lunchbox, which you've dubbed a smart lunchbox. Can you tell us a little bit more about the product and the problem space you guys are solving?
Yeah, so OmieBox is the first and only lunchbox that allows you to send hot and cold food all in the same box. So it features 3 leak-proof compartments inside, and the main compartment has a integrated stainless steel vacuum insulated bowl that will keep hot food hot and cold food cold until lunchtime without affecting the temperatures of the other compartments. So you can pack your hot pasta next to your cold salad all in the same box without like your lettuce getting wilted or without needing to reheat your pasta at lunchtime.
That sounds awesome, and I really wish that I had this when I was a kid. So how did you guys even discover this problem space, or was it spawned out of your own individual frustrations?
Yeah, this problem came when my son, Brad, started preschool 2 years ago. He's a pretty picky eater and just only 5% in height and weight, so I'm always very anxious about making sure he eats his food. And so much to my distress, lunches would come home uneaten almost every day. And I just couldn't find a great solution so that I could send him like a hot entree plus a couple of sides and some fruit to, meals that he really enjoyed eating. And I was tearing my hair out trying to figure out how to get him the food that he wanted to eat while storing it in containers that he could open by himself, and was just really surprised that I couldn't find anything out there that really worked for us.
And so on your website, you mentioned that you bought and tested a lot of lunch boxes. While I have no doubt that the OmieBox is the best and most versatile lunchbox out there as of today, did you pick the best traits from each tester lunchbox and sort of assemble them into the OmieBox, or how did you guys arrive where you did in creating the solution?
Some of it was definitely from, picking traits from boxes that I liked, but a big part of it also, which just came from my own observations. Like I actually went to Brad's preschool to watch him and his friends eat lunch because I wanted to better understand external environment. Like, for instance, like how much time did they have to eat lunch? How much help did they get with their lunches? What kind of tables did they sit at? How much room do they have at the table? How are the friends seated at lunch? So I really wanted to also understand like what their experience was in the lunchroom. So that also informed a lot of our product design decisions.
And do you think there's opportunity to make something similar for adults?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're definitely talking about it. We have to really, dig our hands into understanding what the adult lunch packing experience is like and what the pain points are there. But we definitely have gotten a lot of interest about adult lunch boxes.
Definitely. And so to add to that, could you tell us a little bit more about how you guys approached the design process for the OmieBox? I mean, Lucas, you mentioned something along the lines of 3D printing and putting stuff into CAD, but what were some of the challenges of designing a completely new way of thinking about the Lunchbox?
Yeah, like Nancy mentioned, it really started with doing just a ton of user research. Besides going to schools and looking at lunchrooms and watching how kids eat and how they're experiencing lunchtime, we talked to a ton of parents also and talked to them about their experience with packing lunch as well. I think one of the biggest challenges was kind of putting those two things together because there's very different, distinct interactions that people have with our product. On one end, you have the parents and their experience of, waking up in the morning, heating up lunch, putting it all in, assembling it all together, and then also at nighttime when it comes back. One of the biggest frustrations parents came up with was always having the lunchbox come back with a bunch of lids missing or like a bunch of different pieces missing. So one of our biggest challenges was how to really take out as many parts as possible while keeping as much functionality into the boxes as we wanted to. So we wanted to make sure that there was a higher chance of it all coming home at the end of the day, and parents wouldn't have to constantly be replacing parts or parts would be missing, and therefore the whole lunchbox wouldn't work anymore.
Definitely. I mean, it's funny because you don't really think about these things that much. You just kind of accept the fact that some kid is going to bring a brown paper bag and it's just going to have a soggy hole in it from the washed carrots leaking out of the plastic bag. So what are some of the lessons you guys have learned along the way in regards to prepping for a crowdfunding launch? I mean, ranging from the actual product design through to fulfillment planning and beyond. I mean, is this your first time doing a crowdfunded project?
It is. And, one thing we've found out that you really have to treat it like an actual product launch. And you have to really be ready to present not only your product, but also your brand and your story to your customers. And you have to tell a really cohesive story. And it means pulling everything together in terms of like getting your design pretty much to, almost to final, having great prototypes, having a video that really tells the story, and then just a lot of the marketing assets, the copy, the photography assets, the website, the overall story that you're delivering. There's a lot of work and effort that we put into crafting the story. And so I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons, is that it's not something to be treated lightly. You really have to use this as an opportunity to present your brand to the world.
And so what are your thoughts on the recent potato salad Kickstarter project?
Lucas, I'll let you answer that one.
I think it's awesome. I love when someone can have such a simple, clever idea like that, and just it just catches on. I think it just truly speaks to the medium and this new way of being able to reach people and connect with people that wasn't possible before. So I'm all for it. I think it's awesome. I'm just wondering, how is he going to actually get each person a bite of potato salad? I don't think I've seen how he plans to actually do that.
That's going to be a lot of dry ice. So on the note of crowdfunding, why did you guys end up going with Kickstarter versus Indiegogo or Crowdsupply or any other platform?
We ultimately decided to go with Kickstarter because we felt like it had the biggest user base out of the other, out of all the crowdfunding platforms, and we just wanted to get the eyeballs on the project.
I honestly really like also the Kickstarter philosophy, the all or nothing philosophy. I think it's a true test of whether or not you have market viability. When you can put a number on there and hit that number or exceed that number, really it tells you that, yes, people really want your product.
Definitely. And time again, all the guests that we've had on this show who have gone the Kickstarter route have had very, very similar answers. So I don't blame you on that one. So after you get funded to bring the OmieBox into schools around the U.S. and eventually the world, what kind of products can we expect from the OmieLife brand in the future?
Our brand is all about creating products that make healthy living easier for people. And so that's our hope eventually, is to build out a portfolio that has, a wide range of products that follow that vision. And for now, in the short term, I think we would love to develop some great accessories to go with our lunchbox, things that kids really love, water bottles, stickers, things like that. And also, we've gotten so much interest for an adult box, we're definitely looking into that as the next foray.
With that, I have one last question for each of you guys. As accomplished designers, product launchers, and go-getters, what is one piece of advice you can give our listeners who want to really push their own ideas out there and get things made? Starting with you, Nancy.
I would say don't give up. For someone like me who didn't have a lot of product design experience, it was hard pulling the team together and just coming up with a lot of obstacles and getting the right talent to pull OmieLife together. And it took a while, but I didn't give up. And I think that's the key, is you're going to run into obstacles along the way, and you have to just try to overcome them. And eventually you'll succeed if you follow your passion.
Well said. And you, Lucas?
For me, I think the biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to get out there and test your idea. I think as engineers and designers, we tend to want to noodle on an idea, on a design for as long as possible. But at a certain point, you just got to pull the trigger and you got to get in front of people and you got to see what people are going to say. And so you can't be afraid of that. You have to kind of embrace all the negative comments that you're going to get and use those to make your design even better.
Well, both of those pieces of advice are completely invaluable in the crowdfunding experience. So, Nancy and Lucas, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and good luck with the campaign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Objet 500 Kinex 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Kinex 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Thanks for checking us out today, and be sure to head over to OmieLife.com or the OmieBox Kickstarter page to pick up one of those nifty lunchboxes. On our next episode, we'll be talking with Thiago da Costa, founder of the cloud-based 3D design and publishing tool Lagoa. I'm your host, Simon Martin. Stay tuned and check in with us next week on Maker Galaxy.
A production of EBD Media.